Hi, in this video, I am going to show you again a solution for question on workbook. So you have to take your workbook and you can move to the page number 93. So we are almost finishing the unit 4, topic 5. And the last lesson is 5C, climate change. So I have selected the few questions and takes a little bit of time to explain you a solution for this kind of a question. So please go to the workbook page number 93, and at the end of the video, I provide you the model answer. So you copy this answer onto the page, and I hope you will going to learn something from this video. So let's start. Here is the question. The 6-mark questions. The table shows the soil carbon nitrogen ratio in ground exposed by a retreating glacier. Length time that the ground has been exposed. So less than 200, then it goes to 2000, 3500, 7200. And we can see the carbon nitrogen ratio here. So 10.3, that is carbon number divided by the nitrogen. So 10.3, 10.7, 10.6, 9.8. So this is the table given, and there is a graph. This graph shows the probability that 3 different types of plant will be found on ground exposed for different length of time. So large plant, small plant, and pioneer species. I think if you recall your lesson succession, the pioneer species are the first species to arise, and succession start on rocks. So when pioneer species grow on the rocks, they provide the humus, and then they are also decomposed, and they provide more organic matter, which helps small plant to grow. Small plant again make a more soil, and also they decompose, make the organic matter for large plant to grow. So graph number 2 shows the biodiversity of the plant from length of time ground has been exposed from 0 to 5000. That's a timeline given in years. Now, using this table and 2 graphs, explain the variation in soil condition and the organism found at different distances from the front edge of the glacier. Use the information in the questions and your own knowledge to support your answer. So the part of the questions we have done in the class, that's about the glacier, how glacier is melting and expose the rock. So then rock slowly change into the ecosystem by formation of soil. Explain the variation in the soil condition and the organisms found at different distances from the front edge of the glacier. Now, first thing you had to do is to make a format for the 6 marks question. When you make it the format for 6 marks question, as usual, I propose to use 2 graphs and the table. So then one graph and table. So then you try to describe the data on the graph and table and give reason for this one. So then you can make a 3 section in your answer. The graph number 1, graph number 2, and the table. So better to take first graph number 1 because it shows the succession. When succession happen, biodiversity change and soil condition also change. So if we take the first graph, we can link the rest of the thing to the graph number 2 and also to the soil conditions. So as again recap the glacier and how they make the ecosystem. So after melting of the glaciers, they expose the rocks, and pioneer species, first species to arrive, and they are moss and lichen-like plant, and they can grow on a hard surface because they are adapted for such surfaces. certain things they have. They can live in very dry conditions, and they can also resist to the certain harsh environmental conditions, and also they can send the roots to the rocks to degrade the rock to make the soil. After that, when they make the humus, then the small plant can come. Small plant further degrade the rock and add the organic matter, and then the large plant is coming. With that, we should also remember the animals also rising to this place to make this ecosystem to become a climax community. That's a well-balanced ecosystem, is called the climax community. So bare rocks, moss, grass, woody pioneers, and first growing trees, climax forest. So again, you can see the primary succession starting from the rock and how it becomes the climax community. So format of the answer, again, graph number one, graph number two, and then the table. So graph number one, you describe, give the explanation. Graph number two, describe, give the explanation. Table, describe, give the explanation. So that helps you to construct your answer. So we start with the first graph. So the deck format, what is deck format is not December. You can remember December is a deck format. Describe, explain, where necessary. You can also use compare and contrast. Describe, explain, compare and contrast. So here in this graph, organisms vary with distance from glacier due to successions. Organisms vary with distance. So if you look 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, length of time ground has been exposed, and we can find with that timeline different type of organism, and their numbers are also different. The probability on y-axis shows the chance of having this kind of a different trees. So number one, pioneer species, the dotted line, arrive first because no soil. So I'm going to describe the graph now. Pioneer species die and improve the mineral humus content. So you can see the pioneer species grow to a certain level and start to decrease. And these new conditions support small plants. So now after pioneer species form humus, then the small plants can come, small plants can further enhance the conditions of the soil. As small plants arrive, they compete with pioneer species for resources. Now, the first pioneer species, that time no one is there, pioneer species has no competition, they can grow on the rock. But as soon as the soil is forming, then there is a competition, and small plants, they try to grow faster than pioneer species, and they make a competition, and again the small plant increase, and again here there's a slight decrease. That time the pioneer species is decreasing. As small plants die, they improve the soil mineral conditions and the depth, then which will support large plant. Now the third one, the large plant is coming. You can see they also start very slowly from the beginning, but pioneer species and the small plants, they are very high, and they slowly come into certain level as pioneer species decrease and the large plant increase. So at large plant species are higher, small plant species are less. Again, there's a competition for large plant species and small plant species. So then, as a result of the competition, large plant species are quite high and small plant species are low, and pioneer species is almost zero. Next, the red color one shows plant, the large plant arise and compete with the small plants until climax community is reached. Then the biodiversity, the plant diversity. The graph shows initially increase and then come to the maximum level and decrease. So if you look this level, biodiversity is very low because only the pioneer species are there. Then biodiversity increase as small plants arrive, and then at this point, the further as large plants begin to rise. So here we can see the maximum number of the pioneer species and small plants, and there's a certain amount of large plants. Then with the time, the biodiversity decrease as more large plants grow and as fewer plant species can be supported. Checking the table. So first I take the ratios like this. If carbon number, that's the example, hypothetical values, 103 carbon and nitrogen 10. So then I divide 103 by 10, 10.3. And the second one, if I take example 10.7, 107 and 10. And next 116 and 10. So you can see the carbon number increasing. So carbon ratios are increasing, and the carbon here 103, 107, 16, like it's increased. And here the red color one shows again decrease. So it become 9.8. So data shows with the time until 2000, yes, carbon nitrogen ratios increase, and after 2000 again is decreasing. So we have to relate this to the succession, because whole question is based on succession. So always we have to use this kind of a data to the succession. So here the animals arrive. You can see here the animals arrive, and when we try to analyze this data, first thing we take, early increase correspond with increase in pioneer species. So it is increasing carbon ratio because pioneer species arrive, and then ratio increase to more and more as the biodiversity increase. And then the small plants arrive and they die. So they're further adding carbon. Last, the increase as small plants arrive and die. I think it's a same thing is coming. So the carbon, this should be red color one should be corrected as the large trees, the succession, this is going this way, the succession pioneer species, small plants and the large plant. So when the large plant arrives, then carbon nitrogen ratio decrease. As small plant provide food and shelter, animal will be attracted to area with increase in plant species. As dead plants decompose adding carbon, animal excrement and decomposing dead animal will add nitrogen to the soil. So now when succession happen, when animal arise, the animal provide more nitrogens because they excrete more nitrogen products, and also when they decompose, they can add more nitrogen to the soil. Then this causes carbon nitrogen ratio to decrease, and also nitrogen ratio can be decreased because of the plant. They can also do the nitrogen fixation, the bacteria, and soil is very rich in nitrogen fixation bacteria. They further add nitrogen, and when the protein breaks down and adding this nitrogen to the soil, carbon number, carbon nitrogen ratio, then decrease. So as a model answer, I am giving this graph number 1 and graph number 2. What I discuss here in this video, convert into the text as a model answer, and I make the heading graph number 1, graph number 2, and then the table. Again, what I discussed is given as a text. This should be the model answer. So this end the questions. I think you can, the advantage of these videos, you can stop the video and you can check what exactly written and what is, when I say something, you can check whether it's, how is it important to learn. So that's also very important. I hope you will benefit from this video. There's one more video to post That's about the natural selections. So see you in that video next time.